Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice to radio, so today we're going to be looking at the new Regice card, coming in the upcoming Celestial Storm expansion of the Pokemon trading card game. Recently, we had a bit of a look at Regice, which I really liked for its one-hit KO potential. And we had a quick look at Regis, which I really liked because, to be honest, it is a great tech against any Pokemon that's got an ability, especially if they're weak to metal, and there's more of them than you might think. So it's only fair that we now finish off by taking a quick look at the old Regice so that we can complete the set, although I do get Regice and Registeel's names mixed up quite a lot. If I do that, please do forgive me. So, unfortunately, unlike the ones from Crimson Invasion, these don't work together. The Crimson Invasion ones had cool little things, so all of them would get little extra effects if you had one of the other ones on the field. Sounds good in theory. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not what we get here. What we do get is a nice, interesting Pokemon with a really nice ability. So starting off, it's got 120 HP, and just like the other Regis, it's been knocked down from 130. This sucks, and the reason it sucks is because there's a whole bunch of Pokemon out there, like Zoroark for instance, which have the ability to hit for 120, so big difference between 120 and 130, this is a little bit annoying. Add in the fact that we've got a retreat cost here of 3, which is very, very high, and of course Heavy Ball is rotating, and we're not currently absolutely delighted. The weakness is to metal here, and what really sucks is that a Duskmane Necrozma will be able to get a one-hit KO here with Claw Slash. Now remember how I said 130 is a lot better than 120? Yeah. This means it will be one-hit KO'd by a Claw Slash. Usually it's really nice if you can make Duskmane Necrozma discard free energy to get a one-hit KO. Really try and run your opponent out of energy. If they can just get free energy on and get a one-hit KO, keeping them all, that really sucks. So the basics here aren't looking great, though it is a water Pokemon, meaning you have access to both Brooklet Hill to search it out, yay, and Aqua Patch to accelerate energy. Yay! So at least it's a water Pokemon. In terms of weakness, the best fire Pokemon at the moment is actually Ho-Oh, which is weak to lightning, not water. Sorry about that. Now the ability here is probably the main draw of Regice, and it says that while this is your active Pokemon, your opponent cannot play stadium cards from their hand. So if there was, say, an ability that played a stadium, and I really cannot think of one off the top of my head, in theory that would allow you to keep it. I should say that this does come, as always, most of the time, from the lovely David Hochmann, Mr. RappelmannTCG himself, who did bring us this particular translation of Regice. And most of our translations, to be honest with you. So essentially here, what you do is you pop it in the active, and you use it to try and stop your opponent putting down stadium cards. Now, we've talked about this a little bit recently. At the moment, stadium cards aren't seeing a huge amount of play. We do see quite a bit of play for Parallel City, though that is rotating. And we've got the aforementioned Brooklet Hill, which is really nice for searching out your fighting and water Pokemon. But that's pretty much all we seeing play at the moment. Post-rotation, in this particular set, we are going to have Forbidden Shrine, which I really like, puts 1 damage counter on EXs and GXs between turns, and I think this could actually be really nice for hitting the numbers with a bunch of EX and GX Pokemon, and essentially this stops your opponent putting out a stadium. Now, there's basically 2 ways you can use this. Way the first, you just stop your opponent using a stadium. So something like Boswell not being able to get Brooklet Hill might slow them down a little bit. Maybe they're not able to get that Diancie Prism Star this turn, and ergo they're not allowed to get a KO. Or maybe your opponent isn't going to be able to get that Parallel City, so if you really want to keep your bench as it is at the moment, your opponent's not able to play a Parallel City to get rid of it, which is quite nice. The other thing it can do is keep your stadiums in play. Now, your opponent can always play a field blower to get rid of stadiums. That's always going to be available to them. But the good news is that if they can't put down a stadium, they can only bump your stadium with a field blower. They cannot bump it with one of their own stadiums. Which means, let's say you've got a Forbidden Shrine down, your opponent needs to get a field blower to get rid of it, otherwise they can't play their own stadium, which means Forbidden Shrine stays there and they're taking more and more damage every single turn. And especially when Garbodor rotates, and you're not going to be using Field Blower to essentially turn off Garbodor and turn on your own abilities, maybe, and I have no proof of this, but it could well happen, maybe we play fewer Field Blowers in our list. So the main way we have to get rid of stadiums is by playing our own, and that's no longer an option with Regice in the active. The other thing is, this could be kind of like a wall Pokemon. When I say wall Pokemon, I mean something we stick up if we're using a hit and run Pokemon. Think something like Tapu Fini. I mean, obviously in expanded, Donphan, but in standard, Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini for 1 colourless energy does 20 damage and then flicks back to the bench. So you hit, you run back to the bench and you put a wall Pokemon up in the active to slow down your opponent. Maybe the Reshiram or Zekrom from Shining Legends, which can take a hit and then use their Outrage attack, or maybe, before rotation, Wobbuffet that sits there and blocks abilities. Well, if your opponent is particularly focused on stadiums, you can pop Regice in the active to stop them putting those stadiums down. That is a potential option, and we do have the new Deoxys coming, which pretty much is the same as Tapu Fini, except it takes a psychic energy rather than a colourless. But remember what I've been saying here. One of the great things we have is with Choice Band and Weakness, 20 damage turns into 100. So Deoxys hits 100 to Psychic Weak Pokemon, and Tapu Fini hits 100 to Water Weak Pokemon. It could work. But there's two big bars to this being a wall for hit and run decks. Number one, it's got 120 HP, that's really kind of low. And number two, it's got a retreat cost of 3 and we're losing Floatstone. Post-rotation, we've got Escape Board, but that only gives free retreat if you've got a retreat cost of 1. This has a retreat cost of 3. I don't see it working. It's something to bear in mind. It's exactly the kind of card that won't see play, won't see play, won't see play, won't see play. Why can't I use my stadiums? I didn't think anyone was playing Regice. You've just been locked out of a game because you forgot about Regice and your opponent played it. Could work. Could work. As for the attack, I'm fairly underwhelmed. Water double colourless, 60 damage. The defending Pokemon is now asleep. Automatic sleep is good, but they still flip a coin at the end of your turn, so there's only a 50% chance they're going to be asleep going into their turn. Then, of course, a skateboard is going to be seeing a lot of play post-rotation, because we're losing Floatstone, and that's going to allow Pokemon to retreat when they're asleep. And everyone's playing Guzma at the moment, which is a built-in switch as well. You see where I'm going with this? It's just not terribly reliable. Then, of course, you got 60 damage. You had a Choice Band that goes up to 90 damage. With Weakness, it does 180. And I don't know, maybe Volcanion EX? But like I've said, Ho-Oh's the main one at the moment. The problem is, nothing really relevant is weak to water at the moment. So hitting for water weakness really isn't particularly impressive, and then you've got an attack that does 60 damage, or 90 with a Choice Band, and puts them to sleep in a format where sleep isn't particularly reliable and probably isn't going to stick, and then you get to the stage of just like, ugh. I'm not a fan of this attack. I don't think it's a particularly good attack. And look, alright, you can use double colourless energy, and you can use Aqua Patch. You've got ways of getting the energy on here, even though it's a really expensive attack for what it is. But you can use those same ways to get the energy on other Pokemon that are actually worth attacking with. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, not a fan of this attack. I do like the ability, and I could see it seeing play, so I am going to be giving it 3 Wassies. Remembering, of course, that 3 Wassies is a card that you should have in your binder because you might want to tech it into a deck sooner or later, and you should have a copy ready for that. I really can see this seeing play, and I do think people are going to be playing it here and there. I do think it is going to see play. but I don't think it's going to be great, and I don't think it's going to see a lot of play. I think it's going to be used occasionally, so free Wassy sounds about right. But if you disagree with me, great news, there's a comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. And do make sure you check out my earlier video about Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I do really want to make this a channel where we can share all this fun video game news, etc. So make sure you watch that video, tell your friends, share it around, etc. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.